Hi everyone. So I can be more comfortable because there you go. I am so thankful to be able to bring you guys this opportunity to listen from someone who already achieved something that most of you want to achieve. We're gonna be having like a normal conversation. If this video can provide any value to you, please share with other people so other people can get educated on this topic. Would you mind introducing yourself to my viewers?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Brian Oles. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I met this lovely lady this week. She stayed here with us as a part of the Barcelona experience. My son participated in the camp, and we were honored to have them here in our house as guests this week, and so we're just going to have this conversation now.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
When you hear the word owner, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Honor?
Yeah, owner, like you own something. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I would say that some kind of historical experience relative to that, and some kind of nod to the past in terms of feeling something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. Have you say, well, would you mind telling them what do you do for a living? That way
Sure.
they can understand.
Sure. So I'm a CPA. I'm a certified public accountant. I do a variety of things in that nature. We do financial statements. We do accounting. We do consulting, business consulting, tax returns, tax planning. So for a small business owner that may have, a couple employees or maybe a couple hundred employees, we work with them to make sure that they're following the various tax and accounting rules and helping them optimize their business performance.
What's the difference between small business and a big business?
I think primarily mindset. I think a small business person is more focused on what it takes to do things on a daily basis. I think you're going to find a lot of people wearing a lot of hats in a small business. There's not as much formality in a small business. They tend to make decisions quicker. They're more nimble. Part of that's because they have to be. They have to react to the situation that they're in and the changing situation. Whereas if you get into a larger organization, you're going to have a lot more layers, a lot more complexity, and a lot more formalized processes. So in the most simple example, if you want to pay a purchase order, right? So somebody does something for you and you want to pay them for it. In a large organization, you're going to have to take that purchase order. It's going to have to be approved by someone. It's going to have to a different department to be processed. Then a different department's going to cut a check. So you can see just all these layers and processes. In a small business, you're going to hand it to the business owner and say, I'd like to be paid. They're going to get the checkbook out and they're going to write you a payment. And so
straight to the
business.
business.
It's just a completely different mindset when you're running a small business.
What does it take for someone who has imagine someone comes to you and that person has a small business right now. What does it take one person to go from small business to big business?
It's going to be people based. So the way people grow small businesses into larger businesses, they have to have something that can scale. So it's something that they have the ability to take and grow into a bigger business. But the way you scale is by having and hiring good quality people to help you and to delegate things as a business owner that you can't focus on anymore because you are only focusing on growth. And growth is the way to go from small to big.
So delegation.
Delegation.
You mentioned quality people. Like how would you know this is the candidate, this is the person to hire?
That's the hardest thing about small business is finding people who match your culture, who match your vision, who match your work ethic, whatever those are. Maybe they're high or low on different scales for you. Maybe you're a high culture person, but a low work ethic person. You got to find that match of that person. That is the hardest part for small businesses. Because in nature, small businesses can't pay the same way that big businesses can, right? Smaller revenue, smaller budgets. So a lot of times you'll find a really high quality person. You really have a great relationship with them, and all of a sudden a competitor, maybe who's a little bit larger than you or a lot larger, comes in and offers more money, and you lose that person. That's the hardest part about small businesses.
Do you enjoy your job? Do you know what you do as?
I enjoy it.
For that as well?
I enjoy it. Yep, I enjoy it. The best part of my job is working and helping people. So you'd say accounting, taxation, financial statements, those are all very technical.
Yes, number
It's a lot
based.
of training,
Yes.
a lot of certifications. I did all those things. But at the end of the day, what we really are in the business of is helping people. And we're helping someone who needs a financial statement to go to a bank to borrow money. We're helping someone who needs a tax return to be compliant with the U.S. tax laws to be able to file their tax returns. At the end of the day, it's about helping people. And that's at core, I think, for most small businesses, if you boil down what they do, maybe there's a product, maybe there's a service, but at the end of the day, are you doing something that's helping other people? Because if you are, I think you'll get reward personally, and I
The
think your
heart.
business will grow.
In the business you are currently in, have you do you always envision to be working for somebody, or you always envision to work for yourself?
I don't know that when I started my career that I had a vision one way or the other, to be honest with you. I think
Okay.
over time, I've learned that I prefer to be someone who gets to make the decisions because then I get to affect the culture in a positive way.
Okay.
We
Wow.
are very culture based. We are very family oriented. We want to make sure that people have good work life balance.
Mm-hmm.
We maybe don't work as hard as maybe some of the other peers in our profession in terms of long hours or weekend work, but that's because we really value time away from work and spending time with you
Family.
guys this week. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in my position wouldn't have the flexibility or the ability to make the decision to take their child to camp in the
Why is
beginning of the
that?
morning. That's just something I value. I value the experience of taking Winston to camp so
More
that
than the money.
more than the money, absolutely. Because there's always going to be an opportunity to make more money. Always. You can always work more. You can always work harder. But Winston's going to be with me for 18 years if I'm lucky. And for these 18 years that he's here with me, I want to maximize my experiences and my core memories with him.
Wow.
And that's frankly why I'm in small business. I mean, I could make a lot more money working for a larger entity, being someone who travels all over the United States and being away from home. And I don't value those things. Not
Wow.
currently.
Is well having from someone who's currently already made a lot of money, is making a lot of money. The fact that you can say that happiness, money doesn't buy happiness, right?
Never.
So what will
I'm
you
not.
tell to
I've not
those that
experienced that.
believe that money, that oh, when I have the million, I'm gonna be happy. When I have the billion, I'm gonna be happy. Those that have that mindset, why do you think is that? And what can you tell them? Since you already made the money they are chasing to make, and
Yeah.
you still pick family over money.
I do think there is a certain amount of income that you need to achieve to be able to uh, effectively create comfortableness in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting to you that if I worked at a fast food restaurant and I was on a minimum wage, that I would necessarily be able to do things like send Winston to camp. Like we wouldn't be able to afford those types of things. So I do think there is a minimum amount of education, success in your life, and a lot of those things can be accomplished when you're younger, and you can set that path or that
When you're
track for
younger.
yourself and really be able to focus on those things so that when you're ready to start a family, maybe a little later in life, you have established yourself to the point where you have some financial flexibility, you have the ability to maybe roll back your hours at work a little bit to be able to spend more time on family.
And you mentioned that somebody can reach that if you start young. So for somebody in their 20s or a teenager, which advice can you tell them? So by the time they are 30 or by the time they are 40 or 50, or by the time, let's say somebody who's a young person right now, what advice would you tell them? What would you tell them to focus on so they can have financial freedom in 5, 10 years? So they can be flexible to travel, to spend time with the family instead
Yep.
of working.
That's a really good question. I think the main thing when you're young to focus on is education and learning not only the basics in school, but taking the time to learn what are you interested in, so that way, as you continue to go through schooling, you can start to mirror your interests into your education, and they kind of go together. And then that way, as you go to maybe the higher schools and the more specialized education, you have the ability to make sure that your education is matching your goal or your training, what you want to do with your life. And then the second is developing your network. making sure that you're spending time to meet people in your industry or the industry you think you want to work in, maybe doing an internship or spending time working with them or having a mentor in the industry. Just go to lunch, go to breakfast for a coffee.
But imagine the people in those network already have the money I wish to have.
Sure.
I don't have the money. How can I allow myself to be in those places and environment if I don't have the money to be around the people I want to network?
Yeah, I don't know that the money is the entrance to the network. I think taking the time to research the leaders, whether it's a business leader or a commerce leader, meaning like a nonprofit group, or just people in the industry or the area that you're interested in. Find the thought leaders. Find the people who are driving that part of the profession forward. We have email now. We have Twitter now. The socials, you can reach out to people on all these different ways.
Yes.
I don't know that you need financial power to be able to grow the network. I think you need persistence, and I think you need to find the right person. Some people, when you send that email, they're going to delete it and they're not going to help you. If you find the right person who's interested in reinvesting in the youth and the next generation of their craft, not only will they take the time to meet you, they'll take the time to help you meet their network. And that's the gatekeeper that you're looking to find.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't think it has a lot to do with wealth at that level.
I mentioned that because at least in my generation, the common things, at least for me, those are excuses. Oh, I don't have the money. Well, as you mentioned, you got internet, Twitter, prepare the email, send the email, reach out to the people, because if you stay comfortable and you wish or you pray to the sky for things to come to you, things are not going to come to you. As you mentioned, you had to be persistent. You send an email, one person deleted, send another 5, 10 emails. At some point, somebody's going to answer. But if you give up because the first email didn't go as you wanted, then do you want it that bad?
And it may not be instant. It may, you
might
may
take
need
time, right?
Correct. I'll give you a really good example. So when I was first starting in the profession, I was trying to grow my book of business. I was trying to attract new clients. I sent out 10 letters to 10 different clients that I was trying to attract. Okay. And then after I sent the letters, I made phone calls. I tried to get appointments. Most of them said, no, we're not interested in changing our CPA. We're very happy with ours. After all those, I got one interview, one meeting with someone, and after the meeting, they still said no. 7 months later, I got a call from one of the other people that said no first, and they said, our CPA is sick, and we need to make a change. Would you be willing to come meet with us? I still have that client today. So that was probably 12 years ago.
Wow.
That I was able to...
But it started with a no.
It started with a hard no, meaning I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to take the interview, but they kept that file, that little seed that I had planted was with them. And over time, when they had a need, I was the one they called because I had done the work, I had reached out and started the conversation. So you just don't know when it'll come.
For a lot of people, whenever they receive a no, they stop, they get discouraged. But how or why do you keep going even though they already tell you no? Why give you the energy? Like, oh, they tell me no, it's fine. I'm going to say another sentence later. Where does that energy come from? Where does that mindset? Do you think it's a mindset?
I think it's confidence. It's confidence in yourself. It's the ability to know that you're reaching out for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You want to start a conversation to help someone and provide them with a service that you think you can do better than what they're currently receiving. Is there a financial reward for that for yourself? Yes, of course. But it has to start from a good spot.
A good seed,
yes,
as you mentioned.
Correct. Correct.
As if you can go back in time, well, let's mention some numbers. Is that a time in your life that you struggled financially?
Sure. Coming right out of college and things like that.
What was the lowest you had in a month?
Couple $100 type thing.
And what's the max you have had in a month until now?
Tens of thousands of dollars.
How do you feel from that gap?
Yeah,
from being here to being here.
Right.
How do you feel?
It's just hard work, right? It's just going to work every day and continuing to grind and getting up and going and doing the things you've been trained to do and trying to learn something new every day and try to be better.
If you can go back in time, no, imagine right now you lose everything. No family, no name, no car, no money, nothing. You have nothing from zero. What will you do today to guarantee that you have the same amount of money you have today in 5 or 10 years? You start from scratch. You have nothing today. What will you do?
Do I still have my education?
No.
I have nothing. I think I'd go back and learn what I needed to learn to be able to have a skill. I think you need a skill.
So you're gonna go to like college, university,
or like a trade school, or I think you need something. If it's not if you don't have a product, if you're not bringing a new product or something that people can purchase, then I think you need to have a skill that's marketable. So a service.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the product is actually harder. I think
For
it's
you building?
easier to provide a service because you have
Why
to have
is that?
something, an idea that's something that's new. You have to have a new.
Innovation.
Yes, correct. I
Okay.
think that's harder. I think that's faster if you have something like that people are really like an iPhone or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's a faster path to reward, and
Yeah.
maybe at some point you can sell that to someone else. So
Mhm.
once you reach that, then you don't have to go to work every day type
Mhm.
thing. But I think having that product or having that service is key.
Yes, it helps.
Yep.
You mentioned that you work in a family business, and for some people, at least it happened to me that when I was starting, for example, to make these videos, some people in my family tell me, "Don't do that. Nobody gonna watch your videos. You talk too much. Focus on your degree." So I didn't have the level of support or belief I wish my family gave me. But I'm glad that I was confident a long time ago. That didn't stop me. So what advice can you give to those that their family don't support them, the family don't believe in them, but they're like, no, don't go for your goals, don't go for your dreams. The family are simply not aligned with what they want with their life.
Sure.
What will you tell them?
So I think we talked about this just a little bit ago. I think that's the idea of having a network to support you.
Mm-hmm.
A family can be a biological family, or it can be a family of extended friends and other mentors.
I agree.
And so,
Yeah.
I think having access to those people who maybe isn't biologically related to you, but
Mhm.
maybe you're aligned with your goals or your ethics or your motivations in your career,
Mhm.
and you can talk to those people and rely on those resources to help you understand maybe this is the right sequence of things, or this is help me figure out the pros and cons of this decision. Maybe it doesn't have to always be biological to help with those types
But
of
that
things.
that pain, how do you over? Because it creates pain. Imagine
Yep.
you are my dad, and I'm telling you, Dad, I want to be a public speaker. You're like, no, go to college, forget about that. But that pain of you rejecting my goals and my dreams, how can a child overcome that? You as a dad.
That's a hard question, because there is always this inherent, very tight relationship with parents, and moms and dads and brothers
Yep.
and sisters, and so when the core of your existence in a lot of ways doesn't support you, that can be really hard. I don't know that I have a really good answer for you on how to overcome that.
If you were in that situation, what would you do?
Say it again.
If you were in that situation, what would you do if it were happening to you?
I probably, me personally, I probably would look to my religion for support.
Okay.
Potentially a spiritual person to help me with that type of situation.
Okay.
That's probably where I would go. I've been very fortunate. My family is very supportive. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's hard for me to answer because I haven't faced that situation, to be honest with you.
If you can go back and be a teenager, or you can go back, if you can go back and talk to the 20 years old of yourself, what would you tell to that guy, that young person?
I think I would say maybe just stay more present in the moment. Don't look forward so much to the next milestone or the next thing that's in your life. Maybe just focus on what you have that day and what you're working on that day, and just really understand that tomorrow is not promised. It's really only what you have today, and so the best that you can do today, the best thing you can learn, the best thing you can achieve today, that's what maybe we should focus on the most, rather than the big event that's next week or that type of thing, right? Because those things are going to come. They're going to come one way or the other.
I agree. And we mentioned education, and what are your thoughts on people who believe that without a college or without a university degree, they can make money, they can be happy? Do you think you must, for example, your position, do you think, as of how the world is right now, you need a degree to make billions or to make money?
No, No, I mean, you can look at some of the people that we were talking about, the differences between services and products, right?
Yeah.
Some of the people that have created the best products or the most successful products in the world don't have college degrees. Some of the most successful athletes in the world don't have college degrees. I don't think there's a direct relationship there. Now, if you get into some specialized services like a surgeon or an
Doctor,
attorney, those types of
lawyer.
things,
Yeah.
yes, you're going to have to go to school and you're going to have to achieve a certificate to be licensed. It's really a licensing issue. The boards that allow you to provide those types of services, there we have education requirements for you to get that license. So that's a certain type of path. Now,
Okay.
are all the surgeons and all the attorneys I've met, are they all happy people? No, they're not. Do they make money? Yeah, they make money, but maybe it's not their
why is
true
that?
maybe it's not their true passion. Maybe it's something we just talked about. Maybe their dad made them go to law school, or
There you
maybe their
go.
mom always had the dream of them being a doctor,
There you
and
go.
so they did those things not to please themselves, but to please a parent, right? So
Yeah.
here they are, they're making tons of money, they drive a super nice car,
But
but they hate work every day. They don't want to be there. They, as soon as they can leave, they want to leave. And I've met, conversely, people who work on cars, like an auto mechanic, and they are the happiest people in the world. Do they make all the money as the doctor? No.
No.
But they found what they want to do. So I really think that figuring out, especially as a young person going through school, again, what are you interested in? Are you interested in medicine? Are you interested in working on cars? Are you interested in building software? Are you interested in building homes? Whatever that is that really lights your passion, I would encourage you to follow that passion. And for everyone, it's going to be a unique journey.
I mean, we're all different and unique, and I have this thing that at least I have trained myself to believe it, because I used to not believe it, that I was, but with me doing it consistently and talking to myself through it, I come to the point that I'm gonna make myself happy first, despite if my personal internal happiness is going to make my mom unhappy, I'm gonna take the risk. If it's gonna make my siblings unhappy, I'm gonna take the risk. If it's gonna make my friends unhappy, I'm going to take the risk. I have become, they tell me, oh, you're so selfish. You don't think about what your mom gonna feel. You think about what your sister gonna feel. You think about what your dad gonna feel. What about your friend? And then I explain to them, those people are not me. If I always think about what they want from me, who's gonna make me happy if I'm busy making other people happy? Oh, I want to please my mom. I want to please my siblings. I want to please my friends. I want to please my partner. Then who's gonna end up pleasing me?
Sure.
So with time, people be like, oh, you're so selfish, you're so arrogant. I don't think I am. I simply think I put myself first, and by me putting myself first, I allow other people to put themselves first. Do I still love my mom? Of course. Do I still love my siblings? Of course. But if my happiness is against them, what can I do? I'm gonna have to pick between them or me, and I pick me. Sorry if it sounds selfish. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I, I, I don't know that you're wrong because it's what you've decided for you,
Yeah.
right? So I don't have a comment as to that that's a right philosophy or a wrong philosophy. I think as you get older, and maybe have your own family where there is a partner and maybe there is a child or not child. I mean, you're making your own decisions relative to that. Maybe perspective will change a little bit, but I think for where you are in your life and your career and those types of things, I think that makes a lot of sense.
But do you think let's say from a dad, let's say you told me I love to play soccer, and you come out like, my daughter, you should stop playing soccer. I don't want to see you playing soccer anymore. And I tell you, no, dad, I'm gonna go tomorrow. I'm gonna play.
Yeah.
How will you go on with that as a dad?
I think you have to accept that at some point your children are old enough to make their own decisions, and
Even if it hurts you?
even if it hurts you, I think there's a maturity and what's the word I want to use? There's a maturity and there's an encouragement that you can give to your child to be able to say, I don't really agree with what your decision is, but I'll still support you because I love you enough to know that if you think this is the best right now,
Wow.
then I want to let you know that I don't agree with you, but I'll still support you. That's a very mature conversation to have.
I still be there for you.
Now, can you have that with a 9 or a 10-year-old? No, of course not. But when you're dealing with an 18 or a 20 or a 24-year-old, I think you need to have that level of relationship.
Conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. When you were, as of now, do you consider yourself happy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What makes you happy?
Well, we talked about it a little bit. My family mostly. I enjoy spending time with my family.
And I can testify that, by the way. By the
I
way.
enjoy to do things with them. I enjoy being able to have experiences with them. We tend to be pretty outdoor, so we do a lot of things outside, whether it's football or skiing or riding bikes or things like that. I like to be outside and enjoy the fresh air and things like that. That's what makes me happy. And then my work makes me happy, to be honest with you.
You love your work.
I wouldn't say I love my work,
Okay.
but I enjoy what I do enough to be able to go and do it my best.
Every
I would
day.
always rather be with my family and have fun and those types of
Wow.
things. That's my preference. But I understand the role work has in our life, and I understand my job to be able to provide things for them by doing my work.
Have you do you feel like, since you have this belief that you have to provide, what do you think that's a pressure society put into men, that if a man cannot provide, he's useless, he's powerless, he shouldn't have a wife just because he can provide?
No, I don't. I think that I think providing, and maybe I used a poor choice of words there. I guess I'm looking at it. Providing doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could also be just being there, right?
Yes.
It's more than provide. Provide traditionally has a money connotation to it, and that's not what I intended when I used the word. I used it in the context of work, but work can also be mowing the grass. It can be clearing the gutters. It can be making sure that Winston gets to school on time. There's a lot more to work than just earning money. Yes.
Well, let's go back into the business, because I know you all want to see the business side. I got you all. I got you. See, you have been working with a lot of business. What are the 5 common mistakes you see? Have you worked with a lot of entrepreneurs?
I have.
Okay, what are some common mistakes you see most entrepreneurs tend to make?
I think the first one is the way sometimes entrepreneurs will be scared to ask questions, and I think that can be a really dangerous situation. There's a lot of ego and self-confidence built up in people who want to do it their own way, who are self-made. That's a very entrepreneurial trait, is, I don't need help. I'm gonna grind this out myself. And there are certain things that you're either gonna learn by fire, by doing it wrong and it blowing up in your face, or you're gonna ask someone for help, and it's gonna make your life and your life easier and your business move faster. That's probably the first thing. I can't tell you how many times we have people who come into the office as a first-time interaction, and they've tried to do something on their own, and it's just a mess. And it takes us longer to unwind it, fix it, and get it right. If they had just come in from the beginning and say, hey, I need to file this tax return, or I need help with this accounting, or whatever the situation is, we could have done it much faster and moved them along on their way if they had asked for help initially. And that's, I see it from the lens of accounting, tax, and financial statements, but that exists it's legal, it's finance, it's every different part of it. Like even like if you're a manufacturer, getting someone who knows how manufacturing works, what are the steps to go from concept to final product. I mean, a lot can be helped just by asking questions.
For example, in even me, I have to allow myself to be wrong. I have to be like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Can you teach me? Because I believe I know nothing. What do I know about life? The few thoughts I have, and the universe is infinite. So the amount of knowledge I can keep in my head is, as time goes, it can increase. That's why at least I try to tell people, and myself included, that it is okay to be wrong. It is okay to say I don't know. There is multiple times I'm in a room, I'm not gonna I don't know. I don't know. People be like, what? And also I think the reason why some entrepreneurs might have that, I have everything right, I can't be wrong, is because they fear people gonna laugh at them. Is because they fear they might not look good enough in the eyes of other people.
Correct.
But to me, I don't. I prefer to say I don't know, so I can allow that person or that professor or whoever is around to teach me.
Sure.
But if I think I know everything, then I'm not allowing nobody to teach me.
Yep.
And if I'm wrong, if somebody make fun of me, How does that affect my worth and my value? At least I was honest enough to accept my own ignorance instead of pretending like I know everything.
Yep.
So I think it's something, it can be because of fear. Oh, they're gonna make fun of me. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm supposed to have everything. I'm supposed to have everything figured out. No, you don't. You don't. And do you have any, and which advice will you give to every entrepreneur or upcoming business owners? What is one or two advice you can give to them?
I think taking the time to really understand what your business plan is, what are you bringing, if you're bringing either a new product or a new service, really understanding how you are different than your peers or the other products or services on the market. And that really goes back to that business plan. Really taking the time, again, consulting with others, making sure that you get feedback and thoughts and challenge yourself to, I'm sure in your mind you have the solution to the biggest problem in the world, but taking the time to really make sure that you understand how to do what you're trying to do. Just slow down a little bit. It's hard because you're excited, your mind's on fire, you have a passion, you got to get to the end line, like all those things we talked about, like getting to tomorrow and not living in the moment, all those things, that all kind of goes together. It's just slow down and make sure you truly understand, do I have enough capital? Do I have the right connections? Do I have the right people to help me do this process? Do I have the suppliers that I need? All those different things that go into, by the first customer you actually sign up, can you deliver what you promised that person when they asked you to take them on as a customer? Are you ready for it? Those are really, because once you start to fail the customer, it's too late. You're not meeting your promises. You're not making what you wanted to do happen because you weren't ready fully to do it. And we do work with startups from time to time. Like we do have a couple of startup type entities that we work with, and they will pivot all the time. They'll be going, they'll have collected millions of dollars from investors. They're going this direction. They get, halfway down the field and they realize we didn't consider these things because we didn't know at the time we made these plans. We're going to pivot in this direction. Now we're going to go full blast this way. And then they pivot back. I mean, there's just constantly learning and adjusting. That's part of entrepreneurship, is the ability to realize I've made mistakes. I need to pivot and go over here to be able to get to that goal, which is way over there, and I don't know the path to get there yet.
You just mentioned mistakes, and in the same category with failures. When I was growing up, for example, in school, even in my household, I used to get punished a lot for making mistakes and failing. In school, the same. People used to make fun of me when I would make a mistake or fail. And once I had that energy consistently, it made me grow, and I reached a point where I was so scared of failing. I was so scared of making mistakes, but not because of me, but because I was scared of being punished. I was scared of people laughing at me. I was scared of all of those things that at the end of the day had nothing to do with me. But I'm glad with time I was able to now start seeing my failures as feedback, my mistakes are as lesson. And you, as a consultant, as a father, as an amazing husband as well, as an amazing person in general, how do you approach mistakes and failures?
So that's something I'm definitely working on constantly, is especially with my son, is not to over criticize, over correct, and even for something as simple as football. When he makes a mistake on the field, or if I see a way he could have done it better, not to just come down so hard. I want him to figure it out himself, and that's something I'm constantly working on. I work on it with my employees. Sometimes my employees make mistakes, and it costs me money because we have to go back and fix a tax return, and we can't charge a client for that because it's our mistake, not the client's mistake. And it's hard not to come down on that employee and say, "What are you doing? Why did you make this mistake?" But I think that's something as a leader, as someone who's in charge of young people and old people, we can always be working on being better at giving positive feedback and not just focusing on the negative
feedback. Oh, you did that. Oh, let me correct you to make
what
you.
were you thinking? Why did you do it?
It's so horrible.
They don't. There's no benefit to that type of language.
The mistake is already done.
Correct.
You bringing more pressure on negativity on the person, it's not gonna make them better.
That's correct.
And then also you just mentioned again tax. I was gonna ask at the beginning, but as an accountant, how can someone maximize their taxes to beneficiate them or their family or their business?
That's a really good question. Well, first of all, I would recommend they work with a CPA.
Which is you.
But in all honesty, the tax code is incredibly complex. And to try and boil down the ability of small business owners to use the different tools and methodologies that are available, we could have a whole conversation just on that.
Okay.
But let me try to answer your question the best I can. There are a lot of different things in terms of the way the business is set up, the type of entity that it is, whether it's a partnership or a sole proprietorship or an S corporation. That the type of entity matters. The way that the business bills its customers, the way that the business expenses itself, so the different types of expenses, what time of year they are, all of those are kind of the key, because you have to set the type of business first, and then the way the inflows come in and the way the outflows go out, measuring and controlling those are going to result and land in a tax position at the end of the year. And we always refer to, we want to avoid tax, we don't want to evade tax. Tax evasion lands you in the orange suit. Tax avoidance maximizes the dollar in your pocket. And so the best way to ensure tax avoidance is to use qualified attorneys to help you set up the entity and qualified CPAs to help you manage it on a regular basis. So for most of our entrepreneurs, we meet with them multiple times a year. So they're running their business in January, February, March. We're doing a tax return for them in April that's from the prior year. Then they're running their business for the second part of the year. And we actually get involved with them usually in the October or November timeframe. And we want to understand, what did the business just do for the last 10 months? What's the income? What's the expense? And we take that information and forecast the last 2 months of the year, and we make a calculation of what we think that tax is going to be. So when they get to the tax time in April, they already know, and with some type of approximation, I need to have this much money set aside to pay tax, or these are some steps that I can do in November and December to knock that number down. So it's a very interactive part of our business is tax planning.
You say it's better to evade, not to
No,
avoid.
we want to avoid, not evade.
Evade.
Evade means you are illegally doing something. You're doing something against the rules.
We wanna
avoid means you step aside and let the tax go by.
So it's better to step aside.
Step aside.
And let,
Right.
See, but not with problems though. Don't avoid your problems. Go solve your problems. But with taxes, take the advice and avoid.
Yep.
Let it go. And what is it with the write-offs? Because now I'm watching a post on TikTok. Somebody was like, no, just get a birthday party and then buy all the things you want to buy and then write it off so you can have the money back. How does write-off work?
So write-off is referring to expenses.
Okay.
Okay, and so if in the most simple example, if we have $100,000 of income for the year, right, and we have certain types of expenses that we can run through the business that support that business. So maybe salaries, maybe we have rent, maybe there's
Cars.
technology expenses. Those types of things are clearly identifiable to the business.
Are those things? Does that mean those things I get them for free as a business owner?
You don't get them for free, but you get to use the money that you brought in for the business to pay for those types of things.
Okay.
Okay? Where things get a little funny or gray is when we start to take personal expenses and we try to turn them into business expenses.
Yes.
So you said something like a birthday party.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to explain to the IRS that your child's birthday party was a business expense.
Right.
And that's usually where business owners, especially young or inexperienced business owners, get in trouble, is they are running things through the business that are personal in nature and don't actually relate to the operation of the business. A car is a really good example. When you have a car, you drive your car to work every day, it's your commute. That's not a business expense. When you drive your car from the office to the client site, or you travel to the convention, or you travel to the supplier show, or wherever that is a business expense. But a lot of times people will just deduct the car in total or in all, and they don't realize there's a portion of that that is personal in nature and not related to the operation of the business.
Another example with a write-off, let's say I have a business and me and my employees we go out for lunch. Does that qualify for write-off?
It depends. If you take your employees to lunch and you discuss business,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially there's a client there or another non-employee type person,
Mm-hmm.
a portion of it is deductible for business, usually
Okay.
about a half.
Okay.
Okay. If you go to lunch and it's just for fun and no business discussion at all, then no, it's just a personal lunch.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Then into business, so a lot of people don't have access to accountant, like a mentor or a coach. They don't have access to things that can guide them step by step. Is there any book you can recommend or something you can recommend someone to do on a daily basis so they can at least have a knowledge, they can have information on business? Is there any book, any podcast, any site that you recommend that is available for those that can afford to pay for it, but they have the internet? Is there any way they can have access to that?
So there's two major publishers of research and information inside tax and accounting.
Mm-hmm.
One is referred to as RIA.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call that Thomson Reuters.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a ton of information out on the internet that
You
can look
recommend
at. It's a good one.
Okay.
The other one is CCH. That's another publishing entity, another really good resource if you're looking for information on tax. Now, some of those things, there may be a small fee to gain access to some of that information, but those are the two places I would start if you were looking for research type materials. The other one I would say would be the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants.
Mm-hmm.
That is our national entity that we all kind of go up into, and they have tons of information. There's a monthly magazine that they publish called the Journal of Accountancy.
Mm-hmm.
It can be pretty technical in terms of the way they write the articles,
Yeah.
but if you're looking for the latest news or the latest changes of accounting or the trends of the industry, that's the periodical I would suggest you start with, and that could be purchased very inexpensively. I think you can even get it through like Apple
But it's
subscriptions
worth,
or something like that.
even if it's expensive. A lot of you have pair of shoes that are $500, that are $500. If you can pay a shoes, you have an iPhone. How much is the iPhone? I don't think it's the same price at the site he's recommending. Instead of you paying for the iPhone, pay for this information, and he's giving it for you for free, right? So go pay the fee online that you to have access to that. If you are a girl, you might have a bunch of makeup that you don't need, so you can put that to the trash. You can sell it and invest it in you. If you are a boy, you may have some Nike Air Jordan sneakers that you don't even need, but you need the business education, the business knowledge. Invest in things that are going to bring you a type of return. Makeup won't bring you no return. Expensive shoes won't bring you no return. But business education, mental health education, spiritual education can bring you a big return. Invest in yourself, please. And you are a leader, right? In the company you work with. The company you work for or you work with. How can I say? Since it's a family business, do you work with or you work for?
So I own the company, right? So technically, I operate something that I'm owning.
So since you own the company, you are not the CEO? Some people confuse. Okay, what is the role of a CEO? You own the company, right?
Yeah, right.
Are you the CEO?
So in our business, we're organized as a partnership. So
Okay.
we have multiple
CEOs.
owners. So I wouldn't necessarily call them a CEO. I call them partners.
Partners, okay.
Yeah, a CEO usually like chief executive officer.
Yeah.
Right. That title is usually reserved for corporations.
Not for partnership, which
Not
is
for
what you are
partnerships.
into.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Well, as one of the owners of the company, and you lead people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage? How do you deal with challenges and adversities?
I think what we try to do for the most part is, as a leadership group, the leaders and the decision makers will meet. We'll kind of talk about the issue. We'll try to make sure we think thoroughly through what we want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll usually have a meeting across the whole company, and we'll talk through how we're going to address. I mean, the one that comes to mind the quickest is COVID. When COVID happened, we got together as a leadership group. We decided how we were going to try to work through COVID, and then we got everyone together, told them what our plans were, and just asked them to help us implement those plans.
Does COVID affect your company at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
How, in a good way, or in a bad way?
I think a little bit, maybe both. I think there was good and bad to COVID for
How
us.
do you manage the bad?
We try to manage the bad through technology. So we try to use the ability for people to work remotely through the use of technology to try
Okay.
and get people spread out as much
Mhm.
as possible, but
Mhm.
still be able to do our jobs kind of on a daily basis. So we took the office and split it in half, and half would work for home one day, and half would be in the office one day.
Oh, okay.
And then when people were in the office, we tried to spread them out across the office as much
Mhm.
as possible. And technology allowed us to do that.
I don't know if you're familiar with AI.
I am.
It's coming. How I do you? I how as the owner of a company, how do you approach AI? How are you gonna use AI? Are you gonna stay away from it? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's gonna you're gonna take people's work, or what are your thoughts on AI?
So for it'll be really interesting to see how AI affects the accounting industry. I could see it replacing some things that we do,
Mm-hmm.
but there are also some other things, some critical thinking type things that I don't know if an AI mechanism could really fully understand. So,
The critical part, not
mhm.
the
So like
labor
drafting
part.
drafting letters, for example, if we asked, we've actually played with this a little bit. We've asked it to draft a letter and kind of see what kind of return it gave to us. Filling out very simple tax forms or very simple compliance forms, I could see it doing things like that. And then as opposed to a human doing the first draft, kind of telling it what we wanted it to do and having it try to do it for us, and then a human maybe review the work.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the, we talked about tax planning just a little bit
Yeah.
ago. I don't know that I see AI being able to understand, oh, you're a business owner, you have a certain type of business, oh, you have family members. We're trying to develop a tax plan so that you can sell your business and transfer the wealth of that sale to your family members and minimize tax law. Like, I can't see it handling those type of problem solving situations, not in the short term at least. Maybe someday, but
But
not
at
today.
least you give it a try, because
Mm-hmm.
you see some people are like, no, since we old school, we don't need technology. What can you say to those that are in from those that consider themselves old? They are in the 60s or 70s or 50s or 40s. They want to stay away from technology instead of adjusting to it. What can you tell them?
Yeah, I think if you're not trying to understand how technology is impacting your business and your industry, you by definition are making yourself into a dinosaur. And at some
You're
point,
gonna disappear because the dinosaurs did what? Disappear. Mm-hmm.
so when my dad started in the public accounting space, there weren't computers at all. They had adding
Whoa.
machines. You know, they had adding
Been a
machines. We call
Do
them
you
10
remember which
keys.
year he started?
1972 maybe.
And we in 2023, and
Yep.
the company still on. Kudos to your dad and to your whole
Yeah,
family.
yeah. So no computers back then at all, and today, obviously, a computer on every desk. Some people have multiple computers. In terms of they have one at home that they
Mm-hmm.
use to get into the office from not even in the office. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if we hadn't embraced technology, we wouldn't be able to serve as many clients as we do with as few people as we have. So we only have about 17 people,
Mm-hmm.
and we have you know 700 some clients,
Mm-hmm.
and we wouldn't be able to scale that way if we didn't use and leverage technology to be able to gain efficiencies and be able to do things quickly for clients.
Okay. As a business owner, what are the traits or skills or characteristics can make you want to have someone in the team that you are willing to pay whatever he or she's asking for, but you want to hire them because you see them as a asset to your team?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think the number one thing we personally look for
Mm-hmm.
is ownership of work and the desire to be a part of the team and to understand that every team member has an important thing to add.
Mm-hmm.
And that really all goes back to work ethic and the ability to own the work you've been assigned. So, if I'm asking you to do something, maybe it's a little difficult for you or you're struggling to figure it out. So you're coming back to me and you're asking questions and you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to do as much as you can on your own. You're
Mm-hmm.
not just sitting there waiting for me to come check in with you to see if it's done, for you to say to me, well, I didn't really understand, or I don't really know how to do this. It's really making sure that what you've been assigned, you're trying to do it to the best of your ability, so that wherever you give it down the line, whether it's to a peer or back to me, that work product is the best representation of what you can do. And I can teach most people accounting, I can teach most people tax. If you don't want to be there, or you don't want to own your work, I can't really teach
you
that.
that. But those qualities are mainly internal and mental. Those are not physical qualities.
Not at
Something
all.
that are always, at least one of my belief, that it's easy to change your body, but it's hard to change your mind.
That's right.
However, whenever you change something internally, outside is going to change, because what's going on inside of you, which is your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, affects all the things you do.
I'll give you an example. We have one person in our office who English is their second language. They speak primarily Mandarin, and language and communication at times with her can be difficult. Her work ethic is just off the charts. Like, she will stay as long as it takes for her to figure it out or do it, and
Kudos to her.
she will give it back to you with her very best effort.
Wow.
And this means sometimes she's using Google Translate to look up the information on the sheet so she can understand exactly what it is she's looking at. That's the quality. Like, I'm willing to work with her and teach her, and know that she's not as efficient as someone who English is a first language for, because of her personality and her work ethic.
Wow.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Personality, work ethic.
Yep.
Do you think work ethic is something you can teach someone, or is something you had to have it? It had to be winning you.
Yeah, it's within you.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Now let's do with the opposite. What makes you fire someone, or don't want to work, or want to have someone in your company as a business owner?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to work ethic. I mean, if you're coming to work and you don't want to be there, you don't have the attitude of wanting to be a member of the team, you're unwilling to do what it takes to complete your job on time. I'm pretty lenient overall, but when someone projecting that poison across the entity, then I just don't have a lot of patience for that.
Work ethic. Will you recommend, is someone trying to be financial free, someone trying to make a lot of money, will you recommend it to save or to invest, and why? If you pick invest, what will you invest on to multiply your success? And if you decide to save, why will you save?
So that's a really good question, and I think it depends a lot on the environment around interest rates. In today's environment, you can put money into a savings account and earn 5 to 6% with almost zero risk. And so I think today that's a viable part of that decision. You don't have the worry that the market's going to go up and down, and if you needed the money in 30 days or 90 days, that it wouldn't be there because it would be in a position where you couldn't get the money back, right? So I think that's part of it. In what we've been in for most of my adult life, which is a low interest rate environment, then I think making investments in different types of mutual funds and things like that make a lot more sense, because you're going to, over the long term, have a lot higher return. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on investing in yourself? I'm big in investing every single of your hours per day, all your money into you, your education, your skills, your capability, your health. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. I think you've shifted me now from being in a position where you have wealth to invest to maybe where you didn't have as much wealth to invest. And so I agree. If you're a younger person, you don't maybe have extra money laying around, all of that money that you have, you should be investing in yourself so that you can multiply it and get yourself into a position where you can make those investments. I will say though, when you get your first job and they have the ability to have a 401k or a 403b, some type of deferred compensation account, you need to be putting money into that from day one. You need to set up your internal budget based on an understanding that I need to save between 10 to 20% of my salary from day one. If you set it up from the first day you walk in, then when you get the raise after the first year, the raise automatically increases that savings organically. It doesn't hurt as much if you start from the beginning. Plus, if you understand anything about finance or compounding, when you're young and you put that money in right away, it has so much more value to you.
The long run.
Yes.
Okay.
If you wait until you're 30 or you wait until you're 40, it's so much harder to build the larger number because it doesn't have as much of a time horizon to it. So starting with that first job right out of school, putting away 10 to 15, if you can afford it, 20% into that tax deferred account. First of all, your taxes are going to be lower because you just lowered your taxable income, and you've deferred that tax all the way from your 20s all the way to your 70s. So not only are you allowing it to appreciate unencumbered by tax, but you've deferred the tax almost 50 years from when you started saving.
In
It's very powerful.
50 years.
It's a very powerful way to
Wow.
build a retirement.
50 years.
Yeah, because if you're 20, I mean, those required minimum distributions, they don't start until you're in your 70s. So it's almost 50 years.
We talk about work ethic and skills and mindset and making money. What are 5 skills? Because I believe anybody can learn skills. So what are 5 skills you would advise or you would recommend anybody to learn today to guarantee they are successful in 10, 20, 40 years? I'm all about long term. I'm not gonna expect you to make the billion in 1 week, in 2 weeks, in 6 months. What are some skills that someone can start learning today that you believe will guarantee them a better future in 5, 20, 30 years? Skills wise.
Yeah, I think you need to learn how to be an effective communicator.
Communication
I
skills.
think you need to be able to write and read effectively in terms of having conversations with people, but also being expressing yourself with written word so that you can send a communication to someone. I think you need to have a general understanding of how finance works, how accounting works, so that accounting is the language of business. It's how business communicates from a financial standpoint. And so maybe you don't need to know it to the level that I do, but just some general understanding of how the accounts in general work and what the financial statements mean when you look at them.
Do you have any books that you can recommend for basic accounting?
Any books?
To learn, as you said, not as much knowledge as you have, but that can give me an knowledge. If I'm starting my first business and I see I can be like, what? Profit? Margin? What are those things?
I think
learn.
I don't know that I have a book specifically for you, but I think if you go into Barnes and Noble or into Amazon or into your local library and you look for a general accounting book, like a 101 level book, and just read through that, I think accounting tends to be pretty readable. And the examples that they give in those level books, I think, will be pretty understandable.
Okay.
So I think pretty much any general level book you'd be fine with.
So we got speaking, which is communication.
Yep.
We have writing, reading, expressing your ideas verbally and be able to write it, accounting, and 2 more. Do you have any 2 more?
2 more. I would say just some ability to stay current with current events. So, always
present.
reading, a thirst for knowledge type situation. So you're always learning, always refreshing yourself.
Actualize yourself, stay
Yeah.
update. Okay.
Absolutely. Keep yourself current, making sure you understand what's going on. And I think the last thing is I think you have to be able to have some ability with technology. There's so much of our world today that is technology based. Making sure that you can use a word processor, you can use an Excel workbook.
Excel, even YouTube, because me in my free time, whenever I'm bored, if I'm not working out, I'm on YouTube listening to audiobooks. I'm on YouTube learning how to use Excel. I did not learn how to use Excel in school. I learned it in YouTube. I didn't learn how to. There are books that I couldn't afford to pay, but on YouTube, the audiobooks are free. You will be surprised how many free information we have on YouTube. YouTube is like a free university. But I don't know how many people are taking advantage of that.
That might be a good place to look for accounting information.
It's free.
There might be lectures on there that you could watch on
or
accounting.
Professors or others, I don't know, successful accountants that have put the lecture, but it always, as you mentioned, that requires work ethic for you to be curious enough to not wait on your parents or the government or the people you love to be like, hey, work harder, study harder. That has to come winning you, because if you want to improve your life, if you want to do better and be better, who do you think will come and do it for you? And nobody's coming. You can wait your whole life for that one person to come. But if you start by yourself today, you're going to be far ahead instead of waiting. You got YouTube. Learn. You got free time. Forget about Netflix. Forget about partying. Forget about drinking. And those friends that be like, oh no, come party and come drink. Whenever you're going to be broke with no money and sick, those friends are not going to be with you. So focus on you and grow. It pays off. Grow. And those that love you are going to allow you, motivate you, inspire you to grow and not to stay stuck in a situation that is making you miserable and keeping you poor. I think we already have. I think we've been here for I don't know for how many minutes. My phone's still recording. Thank you for not dying on me. You have any more final words? But in advance, thank you so much. This is the first time I have access to be able to listen from someone who's into the business. Someone, for example, an accountant. I have never. I dream about it at some point. Or like, I wish one day I can, and it happened. But I didn't know it was gonna happen today, and it was gonna happen in a beautiful setting, guys. I wish y'all can see what I'm looking at. I have trees around me, and it's beautiful, and he's treating me like family since I'm here. Do you have any final words for anybody who might watch this interview? What can you tell them towards happiness and success?
I guess I would just say, it's going to take hard work. It's going to take the ability to stick it out when things get tough. It's not what you see in the movies. It is the grind, the daily grind to be able to do what you need to do to get to the next step. And that's really focusing on a daily basis on what are those small incremental things that you can do today to make tomorrow better. So, I would say carpe diem, stay in the day, and make sure that you need to do what you get done today, what you need to do. So, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you for letting me pick your mind. I don't know how many people in the world they will have paid thousands of dollars just to have this information, and I got it for free. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, well, guys, subscribe. Can you tell them to subscribe, please? Tell them to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe. I'm sure she's got tons of interesting information for you to hear.
And he had never watched my video, so he's not here, Bo, trying to make me look good. He's not. Okay? But so he says subscribe. So if you listen to accountants, listen to him, right? Subscribe. And see you guys in my next video. And if it was valuable to you, please share it with as many people. Don't keep the information for yourself. Don't keep the love for yourself. Don't keep the positivity to yourself. You become way better by making other people better. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yes, we did it.